One sec.
Too late.
What? Oh, yeah?
We are on.
Roll with it.
It's illegal now to burn the Quran in the land of Shakespeare and Keats. They'll come after you no matter how far you run. Hamid Koskun can give you the deets. But as Sharia descends upon the sceptered isle, free folks must bear in mind, evil may seem to win for a while, but there is one who gives sight to the blind. That's This Week in Jihad, ladies and gentlemen. We have a very special treat tonight. We have two of the masters of the Christian apologetics field. We have two of the titanic warriors of our time. That is right, not one, but two counter-jihadis in one. Apostate prophet David Wood, together Apostle Prostate. Gentlemen, good morning, good evening.
It's funny that AP is a hero of Christian apologetics, and
yeah, hardly even a Christian.
He's about to get baptized.
Well, better late than never.
That's what I always say.
I am indeed about to get baptized. It's happening soon, very soon.
That's wonderful. You have a date?
Yeah, it's gonna be this Sunday actually.
Oh, this Sunday! Wow.
Yep, well, that's why I'm here. I'm gonna film it. I'm gonna film it unless they kick me out.
Yeah, it's an Orthodox church, right?
Yeah. I had to convince them to accept David as a guest. Yeah.
Okay.
They told me be quiet. They told me be quiet about my views and stuff.
They said don't tell anybody you're Protestant.
They said they'll all start beating the crap out of me or something like that.
Yeah, they do that a lot in Orthodox churches.
Yeah.
Every week I see some poor Protestant getting beat up. It's pretty much it's a carnage.
Yeah,
every week.
I think it's kind of an informal part of the liturgy.
Yeah. It's right before the doors. All right.
Yeah, so I'm here at AP's tomorrow. I don't even know if you've been following the stuff with Muhammad Hijab and his.
I have not.
Yeah, he conducts like McDonald's marriages where the mahar you buy for the woman is just a McDonald's meal, and he'll perform the marriage, and then you go ahead and have your way with her. Buy her a Happy Meal, have your way with her, and
a Happy Meal because she's 9.
Go ahead and divorce her. So anyway. Tomorrow we're going to roll up to a McDonald's and I'm going to order a McMuta marriage and see what happens. See what they say.
What?
We'll have a fun video.
You like fries with that?
Well, want extra muta with that. Oh yeah, if I want ketchup, I'll see what I can do with
shake.
Matter of fact, I'll say I need a shake. When they say I'll say no. Shake Uthman. That's how we get ketchup.
That's right. He's got a distribution, as far as I understand. A whole contract. All right, we got lots of jihad. Shall we do some jihad here before the hour is up? All right, jihad is what we are about here, ladies and gentlemen. As you could see from the poem that Allah gave me this week, and we have the Boulder, Colorado molotov cocktail attack is the big story this week. And of course, Mohammed Sabri Suleiman is big in the news. There he is. That's his mugshot. He apparently was wounded in the right ear as he was lobbing molotov cocktails at a group of Jewish demonstrators who were peacefully protesting about for the release of the hostages, asking Hamas to release the hostages. Now, it's interesting. A lot has come out about this guy over the last few days. But the first thing was that he was shouting, "Free Palestine," and throwing Molotov cocktails at Jews. And what was the first thing that the chief of police of Boulder, Colorado said? And here he is. What is his name, this clown? Steve something. Sorry, once again, I'm not as organized as I ought to be. Oh, here we go. Here it is. This guy is Steve Redfern. and he's the police chief in Boulder, Colorado. And the first thing he did was stand there and say, "We don't know this guy's motive." "Free Palestine," he was shouting, and he said, "We do not know his motive, because every time there is a jihad, they don't know the motive because they don't want to talk about jihad, and authorities thus obfuscate and outright lie and cover it up." So, do you think we know his motive?
It is very difficult to tell,
Yes. So he helpfully gave us a video. Have you seen this video? I do not have the technological know-how to show the video, but it's at memory. You can find it. And the video is very interesting. He says, Allah is greater than anything. And remember, Allah is greater. That's what Allahu Akbar means. Allah is greater than anything. Allah is greater than the Zionists. Allah is greater than America and its weapons. Allah is greater than the F-35 planes. Allah is greater than anything else. So why do we fear those who are inferior to Allah rather than fear Allah himself? Anyway, so he goes on, and then he says, then what about Allah, who says to us every day dozens of times, Allahu Akbar. Do not forget, Allahu Akbar. Do not forget that Allah is greater than everything, not the Zionists, America, Britain, France, or Germany. Only Allah has the right to be feared. I say to my mother, my wife, my children, my brothers, my people, I attest before Allah and before you that Allah, His Messenger, and jihad for Allah's sake are more beloved to me than you or the whole world are.
It's still difficult to find out what his motive is.
Yes, because he loves jihad, but we know that's an interior spiritual struggle for the betterment of the soul. And so, obviously, that doesn't really tell us why he would throw molotov cocktails at a bunch of Jews. So what do you think? Could it possibly have something to do with actual jihad? Could it possibly have something to do also with this? Now suddenly there's a hiss. Have you turned on the sprinklers over there?
What'd you do, AP? What'd you touch?
It stopped.
I didn't do anything.
Huh.
I didn't do anything.
Allah turned on the sprinklers, but they stopped now. All right, one other thing about this guy, Mohammed Sabri Soliman, his Facebook image. Open your heart to the Quran, and you will be blessed in this life and in the next. Open your heart to the Quran. Now, do you think that his actions might indicate that he's opened his heart to the Quran?
I mean, all the evidence is pointing in one direction, Robert.
Yeah, Islamophobia.
That's one option.
Yeah, well, you think I'm kidding, but ABC News has a story, and it says the Boulder, Colorado attack comes amid record incidents of anti-Semitic and Islamophobic hate crimes. And what was their source for the Islamophobic hate crimes? The Council on American Islamic Relations. So you see, it's all about Islamophobia.
I mean, technically you can lump together anything with anti-Semitic hate crimes and say that together there's an increase. It's like, what's that comedian? There was a comedian once who said it was right after Ted Turner gave $1 billion to the UN, and it was Brian Regan. It was Brian Regan. He said, Ted Turner just gave $1 billion to the UN. That means that together, Ted Turner and I have given a little over $1 billion to charity this year. But so if you lump them together, I don't mean to brag, but together.
That's a beautiful thing. And so you got Islamophobia, and the ABC News article says the Islamophobia comes because of that poor little kid who got killed in Chicago, was it? Wadea al-Fayoume. Yeah, in the Illinois, anyway. stabbed, 6-year-old boy, Palestinian, stabbed to death by the landlord, 73-year-old Joseph Chuba. Terrible story. And that was on October 14th, 2023. And then it also says, the same ABC News story, that on November 25th, 2023, Burlington, Vermont, 3 college students of Palestinian descent were shot. And yet, that was not actually an Islamophobic story at all. The 3 Palestinian college students were shot for entirely other reasons by a guy who was pro-Hamas, pro-Palestinian. And it's a terrible thing about the 6-year-old boy, but that's the only thing they've got in terms of a wave of Islamophobic hate crimes.
1 second, Robert. AP's screwing with the audio because someone complained about the audio.
Yeah. And then the
what's going on?
sprinklers came on.
Does it sound better now?
Yeah, actually, it does to me. It sounds fine to me. But I'm wearing
What's
these
the mic?
fancy
Is this the
headphones.
mic? Is this the mic here? Check.
That is the mic there. That's the mic.
You hear this?
Yep.
Okay. Do you hear us both, or do we need to be up close like this?
It's better when you're up close. I can hear you both.
All right.
Okay. We'll kind of move it back and forth. Why is this thing moving?
It's fine, man. It's fine. Just continue. It's a professional setting.
This is deeply professional. This is the new media right here.
People don't know, but AP's like redoing his entire scene, and we were about to rip all this down, and then I'm like, no, maybe before we rip out, maybe to do the show first. Then, anyway,
you both should come up here and rip everything up, and we'll do a show while it's half done.
Hey, that's good. Let's do that.
Absolutely, it'll be very meta. Very. Anyway, you're both welcome at any point. Okay, so we got the Boulder guy, but there is much more news this week, and let's see if we can try to keep this to some degree on track. Where were we? There was a big story, gentlemen, that was not Boulder, Colorado. Oh my goodness! I should have remembered because you did a show on it yesterday, AP, and I think David, you probably have talked about this before. This is our friend Hamit Koskun, who burned the Quran, was attacked by a Turkish Muslim, stabbed, and he was convicted in Britain. And so now yes?
Actually, yeah, AP is now the leading authority on that because the dude only speaks Turkish, and AP is the only one that can understand him. So
yeah, he's actually the only good Turk. So the only Turk that I respect so far is that guy. But he did a respectable job. He did something very, very respectable. He did indeed stand on a square and start shouting that Islam is the religion of terrorism, which I find personally very Islamophobic. But and also said that it is an invasive religion, that it's a very, very bad religion. As a result of which a Lebanese guy came with a large knife, swinging his knife at him.
Oh, I thought he was another Turk. He was Lebanese, eh?
Yeah, he was a Lebanese. And the other guy that came at him was of Pakistani origin, I think, who also started attacking him and broke his fingers in the process. Goodness. For which Hamid had to be hospitalized. And then the police came to the hospital
Hence the cast.
To arrest him, yeah.
And they arrested him, and so now he's been convicted. Yeah. And so now the UK has Sharia blasphemy laws. Because is it not true, he didn't do anything else but burn the Quran?
Well, the court told him that he asked for it when he got attacked. Yeah.
Yep. The judge, Magarva, he said to Koskun, he said, "You believe Islam is an ideology which encourages its followers to violent pedophilia and a disregard for the rights of non-believers. You don't distinguish between the two." Now, it seems like there's something left out of that quote. That's exactly how it is in the Express, but he must be saying you don't distinguish between true Islam and hijacked Islamism or whatever. But you believe Islam is an ideology which encourages its followers to violent pedophilia. How could he have gotten that idea? There's nothing to that, right? He must just hate Islam.
What do you think?
Yeah, I would. What I would say if I were defending the prosecution and the judge on this one, I would say, okay, you're saying the Quran encourages violent pedophilia. It obviously encourages violence and obviously encourages pedophilia, but those can be separate. So how are you not distinguishing between the Muslims who keep them separate? I've got my pedophilia over here and my violence over here, and those who lump it together into violent pedophilia.
But what if you have a 9-year-old bride from whom you fear disobedience?
Well, even there, I mean, you have to distinguish that your pedophilia is not connected to you beating the crap out of your wife, right? They're two separate things.
This is such a beautiful religion.
I'm just playing I didn't want to say devil's advocate because that would be too mean, saying they're all working for the devil, but something like that.
Muhammad's advocate.
Muhammad's advocate.
Muhammad's advocate is very good.
Allah's advocate, yeah.
So Magarva goes on to say, I find you have a deep-seated hatred of Islam and its followers. And I thought, wow, that's really extraordinary. Apparently it's against the law to hate Islam in the UK today. Now, do you think people are going to start getting prosecuted for hating Christianity in the UK?
No, and it's another situation. I say this almost every time. It's the hypocrisy that is the main concern for me. If you were at all consistent, even on blasphemy laws, if people were just like consistent, I'd still have a problem with it, but not as big a problem. Like if you said, hey, we're just making it a rule. You can't hurt anyone's feelings on anything ever. You know, I would think that's stupid and it's never going to work, but I would at least, okay, you're being consistent. You're saying can't criticize or hurt anyone's feelings or something like that. But it's just always like Islam is the one thing. Islam is just the one thing that all these rules always applied to. And if you are at all consistent for a second, hey, you seem to hate this entire group. I mean, have you read the Muslim sources? Have you read the Muslim sources? Have you heard what people like Ali, how much trouble is Ali Dawah in for saying that once he gets what he wants, ex-Muslims are going to be executed? How much trouble is this guy in? None. They don't care. They don't care even slightly. But if you say anything towards the group that wants to execute the ex-Muslims, then you're in trouble, and apparently you're going to get locked up.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, to be fair, I have to say one thing here, which is, so while that may sound like fair criticism, this would make sense if we were talking about two different, two individuals, for example, that are on the same intellectual level and that are, legally ruled to be capable of making intelligent decisions, and then, commit certain crimes or do certain bad things. If a non-Muslim does certain things, it is of course understandable to hold that person accountable. However, if a Muslim person does something of that sort, I think it's just it is a little bit difficult to hold them accountable for what they're doing. I guess that's the logic here. I guess the UK law says we can't really hold somebody like Ali Dawah accountable because they just don't know any better.
So are you saying that in coddling Muslims and giving them special privileges and making them a special class in Britain, Britain is being Islamophobic?
Huh.
I'm gonna coin a phrase here, Robert. I'm gonna call it the soft bigotry of low expectations.
There you go. Wow, that's a good phrase. You should copyright that.
Wow.
Somebody might start using that, and you need to get a royalty.
Let me make a note of that.
All right. There was a big, something is escaping me here. I have everything organized and then it falls apart when the show starts. There was a terrific story. Oh, yeah. Did either of you see or both of you see that the Islamic Republic, that hell is in Iran? The Islamic Republic of Iran has started a hell theme park.
I thought that was the whole country.
I kid you not. This is real. Here it is. That's hell in Iran. It looks like a bad Halloween exhibit, but it's part of their hell park, and you can go and and visit hell, and they've even got paradise next to it. This is out of Iran International. Yesterday, a report that the Islamic Revolutionary Guards Corps has started a theme park in the northeast, in Fuman, in the northeast province of Gilan, and it's called Heaven Time, but actually it's hell. It has the approval of the top religious figures in Iran, and okay, so you go to this park, you walk through. There's a suspended bridge, and you walk along, and there's flames licking up around your feet, because the idea is you're just walking right into hell. And people there are these actors, and they're in these costumes, like you see this guy with the mask, and they are moaning and screaming and yelling in hell as you walk through. And meanwhile, Quran passages about hellfire and the tortures of hell are being recited over loudspeakers. and then you go through hell. You get to the two angels, Nakir and Munkar, who are the ones who interrogate the dead in hell, and you get to talk to them a little bit, and then you pass on into paradise. And Iran International characterizes paradise this way. The nearly barren pavilion features a patchy lawn, a narrow pond meant to represent paradise's milk and honey streams, and a few scattered potted plants. And I think, what? Where are the babes? Where's the beer? This is paradise? What are you talking about? And also people noted that all the way through hell in this theme park, there's not a single unveiled woman. And you would think that hell in Iran would be just filled with unveiled women, and then you would go to paradise and get and the Houris would be there too, and they're not there either. So I think this place is a gyp.
Yeah, I mean, when you said it out, that's instantly what I was thinking. I was thinking it was going to be like all these women who refused to wear their hijabs, and that's what was filling hell. But now that you say they're not including that, seems like it's more male-oriented. So I think you left one out, Robert. There's going to be the hell exhibit, and then a couple plants and stuff, and then the Night of Al-Zut exhibit, which is the real fantasy of all these Iranian religious leaders.
But if they had unveiled women in hell, then that would be a chance for the Iranian, the kind of guy who goes to what they call gentlemen's clubs in America.
Yeah,
that he
you'd have all these Iranian dudes going through the exhibit, and then they're whacking off.
And then, of course, you go into paradise, and they're the Houris. And so it would seem like, of course, you remember the Old Man of the Mountain. Al-Jabali in the Middle Ages. He was a warlord in Iraq, I believe it was, and he created paradise. This is the origin of the assassins, the Hashishin, that he would give these guys hashish. They, of course, had no idea what it was. This was before the Beatles and everything. They didn't know what it was. And so he gets them totally stoned, and then he takes them into these lush gardens. I think they were probably nicer than the ones in Iran. And there are these women there, and they leave them there overnight. And the old man tells them, you were in paradise. And you want to get back there, you got to go and kill these people that I give you the list for, and you can get in. And the Hashishin were feared all over Europe and the Middle East because they'd been in paradise, they knew it was real, and they wanted to get back. And they knew how to get back. They had to kill and be killed.
There is something very messed up. Now we're talking about the women in heaven, the women in paradise, and how they are being presented and given to the men to have fun with them and eternally deflower them and so on. Mm-hmm. But there's also a contrast to that, according to the Hadith, in hell, where Muhammad, of course, saw hell, and he saw that the majority of the hell dwellers were women, which was, of course, a very good way to tell the women, behave and obey your husbands, or else. And but he also had some very messed up descriptions of what is done to women in hell. And I don't want to get very specific and graphic right now, but the descriptions of what happens to the women in hell, according to Muhammad, are pretty messed up. So there is an interesting aspect here, which is that in both cases, in both heaven and in hell, we are talking with some specificity about women and what is happening to them, and it is always kind of sexual. Like in hell, for example, they are, according to one narration, hanged from certain body parts and all that. So,
Well, the Iranian leadership likes the hadith about women being hanged from their hair if they don't wear the hijab.
yeah,
And lots of stories of Iranian women nowadays saying, yeah, I was taught that all through school, and my father and my uncles told me if I didn't wear the hijab, I'd be hung upside down by the hair in hell, or hung. I guess that would be hung right side up. Anyway, still hung by the hair. No good.
AP and I forget who we were just talking with, but another ex-Muslim. But I've heard from multiple ex-Muslims over the years that the idea and the extremely graphic nature of Islamic hell that is used on them from a very young age and all their lives, even after they leave Islam, it's still in their heads like, oh my goodness, like, okay, I'm almost certain that I'm right in leaving Islam, but given that small, tiny chance that I'm wrong, my goodness, what's still waiting for me out there? Like, it still bothers them years later.
Oh, and that another good hadith about that is that the 72 virgins, 70 of them are non-Muslim women in hell who serve their time in hell by being the sex slaves of the blessed Muslim men in heaven.
nice.
So the hadith are actually saying that it's hell to be with a Muslim man.
Nice.
So
They're not wrong.
there you go. Yes, indeed. It's not a big stretch to think that. All right. We also have other news. A lot of news lately. This, of course, there's a lot of jihad breaking out all over. So this is Hassan Choker. That's a very nice last name for this man.
Hey, it seems like he tried a little too hard with get his Zabiba at the last second, and
Yeah, he got carried away with the Zabiba.
I need a Zabiba now.
It looks like he just scraped his forehead with a nickel or
That's the
something.
dumbest Zabiba I've seen.
Anyway,
we need someone who tries like really hard. And they just got like bruises all over their face and head. That'd be awesome.
I mean, if you have a Zabiba, you have to have it's a sign of good status to have a big Zabiba, If you have a tiny Zabiba, it's probably worse than having no Zabiba at all.
it does. I don't want to impugn this man's character, but it does look self-inflicted. It looks like not the kind of thing you'd get by banging your head on the floor, but the kind of thing you'd get by scraping something on your forehead.
That's probably what he did.
Yeah, he's an amateur. He's an amateur. That's an amateur Zabiba, man. Like he tried a little bit, but
Yep.
he needs to come to us. We can explain. We can break it down how to get a big Zabiba.
I'm gonna give him a bigger Zabiba.
So you heard it here, folks. When it comes to Zabibas, go big or go home.
Yeah.
So Hassan Choker, Chokr, Choker, he went. He lives in Dearborn, Michigan, oddly enough, and he went into a Bloomfield Hills, Michigan preschool. And this was a preschool run by Temple Bethel Synagogue in Bloomfield Hills. And he said he was going to bring Allah's wrath upon them and even the score by killing the preschoolers and their teachers. And he had a gun as well. So he ultimately pled guilty to the gun charge. And so that's what he did last Tuesday. But he was accused of making anti-Semitic and racist threats to the Jewish preschoolers.
And then there's the additional crime of having a crap Zabiba.
Yeah, that's not a crime in New York yet. I'm sure. I mean, in Michigan yet. I'm sure it is in Britain, or it will be soon.
That's like worse. You could go massacre a ton of people, but you go into court with a lame Zabiba, you're doing some time.
Is there a Sharia punishment for a fake Zabiba?
There should be.
A self-inflicted, non-headbanging Zabiba?
That would be funny. That was you might not remember, Robert, but there was the movie Naked Gun, and at the beginning, he was fighting all the evil world leaders, and he got to Gorbachev, and he like wiped the stain off his head, and he goes, "I knew it." Anyway, it turned out he just needed to be washed off. Anyway, that should be in some skit where some guy's like, "I have the best Zabiba. I got the best Zabiba," and we like wash it off, and then it's like, what's his punishment?
Yep. Then he's no longer pious. Then he starts drinking and
it just turns out he just needs a bath.
Dismisses 3 of his wives. He's just not religious anymore.
I don't understand the whole thing. So he started shouting anti-Semitic things or saying anti-Semitic things and wanted to attack Jews. But why would he do that? Like, where did he get that idea from? I don't understand.
One of life's great mysteries.
It is. It's probably that he was driven mad by Islamophobia.
Okay.
And thought that if he just freed Palestine, everything would be all right.
Oh, yeah.
This is, I'm sure, somebody we all know and love. Yes.
McLovin. That's Imam Tom McLovin.
McLovin?
Yeah, he looks exactly like a character in a movie named McLovin.
Oh, I don't know the movie.
McLovin. He was like this super nerdy dude. But yeah, that's Imam Tom.
Yeah. Tom Fasheen, right?
Yeah.
From Utica. But he was down in the city, actually in Staten Island, which is technically the city, but not really. And he was at the Staten Island Islamic Center. An interesting thing he said, a lot of people were very upset that he said the nation of Israel must be abolished, which of course is pretty much an open call for genocide. And I think, well, of course, that is indeed noteworthy. But what I thought was interesting on a number of other levels was that the guy said that the Zionists will not stop until they change the Quran. And I thought, wait a minute, doesn't the Quran say it can't be changed?
Apparently the Jews are more powerful than Allah, Robert.
Looks like it. Tom Fasheen. Isn't that
stop Israel, they're going to change the Quran. we have to stop the Jews. That's why we have to fight them. They're going to change the Quran. They're that powerful.
They already made him start wearing an infidel hat. I mean, when was the last time you saw an imam wearing a hat like that?
Well, it's just funny that he grows out this little beard just because he knows I'll call him McLovin. Like he's changing. Look, his entire outfit and hat and beard, that's all to cover up because I called him McLovin. He's trying to.
I got to look up McLovin.
Yeah, just look up McLovin. Matter of fact, look up McLovin. You can't tell there when you see him in a video where he's not deliberately trying to avoid looking like McLovin. He looks exactly like McLovin.
Okay.
And there's no G on that. It's McLovin.
I think I got him. Hang on. I'm not sure because I don't know anything about this. But is this the guy? Where? Hold on. Sorry.
Yeah, that's McLovin.
Okay.
That's exactly what this dude looks like before he tries roughing himself up and give himself a beard and stuff like that, which he probably draws on with a Sharpie.
Yep.
If you catch him like 5 years ago, Robert, like dead ringer, he could have played McLovin.
Maybe he did. You never know. All right, couple other things we got here. Callum Taylor. Did you see about Callum Taylor? He looks like somebody who could have played. You could have played 5 years ago in the Callum Taylor movie, starring David Wood as Callum Tayll.
Well, tell me the story first, and then we'll decide.
Okay, he's an English guy, and so you'd have to talk in that way. But in any case, he is in prison. He has a long rap sheet of being violent, and he went on a 2022 went on a 3-month campaign of violence. Stabbed 4 people, assaulted a 5th with nunchucks. Now he's in Long Larton jail in Eversham, Worcester, where
He looks like a nice guy.
he's often heard screaming Allahu Akbar, and he just stabbed a prison guard.
Is that the story? I think I heard that from Tommy Robinson, but
And
I
he
didn't
said
know who it was.
it felt good to hurt someone.
Nice.
Now, where would he get that idea? It felt good to hurt someone. There's nothing in any religious tradition that would support such an idea.
Well, you have you got Muhammad saying that fighting in the cause of Allah is the greatest thing in the entire universe.
There's also chapter 9, verse 14 and 15 of the Quran, where it says, "Fight them, and Allah will punish them by your hands." That is, that Allah's punishment comes through the Muslims. Allah will punish them by your hands, and He will lay them low and give you victory over them, and He will heal the hearts of the people who are believers, and He will remove the anger of their hearts. So Muslims don't have to go to psychiatrists, they don't have to go to counseling, priests, whatever. All they need to do, if they're depressed, if they're upset, if they're angry, attack some unbelievers.
That's
And
awesome. Makes
then
me want to
they'll
be
feel better.
It's crazy, Robert. When I hear about, because I've been to prison, but in the U.S., and when I hear about a Muslim attacking like a prison guard or something like that, I'm like, oh, you're in trouble, man, because you get a target on your back from the guards, and the guards will take every opportunity, because they have to do it. They have to teach a lesson to inmates who do that, to set an example for other inmates that under no circumstances do you ever attack a guard, or the rest of your prison stay is going to be miserable every day of your life. And so, you don't mess with a guard in the United States. It happens, of course, because occasionally you got people who got nothing to lose, or they're just total hotheads. But it's generally understood in the prison population, you don't mess with a guard, because they won't just retaliate against you, they'll retaliate against the entire dorm that you're in, just to make sure everyone understands under no circumstances do you ever support anyone doing anything against a guard. So they'll put the entire dorm on lockdown for 3 months and beat the crap out of that dude on a daily basis, and treat the entire dorm like garbage for months and so on. But so when I hear that the guards are getting attacked by Muslims, I'm like, are these guys insane? Are they insane? But it actually makes sense after hearing Tommy, after Tommy got out. Tommy's saying that the Muslims run the prisons, and that the guards are terrified of the prisons, and it's actually the guards who need to be scared, because if the guard ever gets out of line with the Muslim, that guard is going to have a target on his back from Muslims wherever he goes, and that guard is doomed. So it's like they've totally flipped things over there, and I don't even know how there is a way to come back from that. There is a way to restore order and stuff like that. It's just it would be considered Islamophobic, and therefore they're never going to do it. And so they're just going to let inmates. Notice it's the same thing. It's the same thing as letting the Pakistani rape gangs continue what they were doing for years, because you're scared of being called Islamophobes. That eventually became understood by the public, so they had to do something about it. Until there was a public outcry, they weren't going to touch that issue. But guess what? There's no public outcry against what's happening in prison. So it's the same dynamic. You cannot crack down on what Muslims are doing here, because if you do, you're Islamophobic. So you just have to keep letting prison guards get beaten up by these guys.
And there's more. Another story out of the prisons in UK is that pedophiles are converting to Islam. and they are
Shocker.
doing so because the Muslims will protect them, the Muslim prisoners.
Darn right they will.
Why would they do that?
You're a pedophile.
Yeah.
But
it's
Aisha was 19.
You're just like our prophet. We love that.
Yes, you remind us of our prophet. How many kids have you banged?
Wow, wow. I love you. You're just like my prophet. I always wanted to meet
Alhamdulillah,
somebody.
let us worship you. Let us worship you. By the way, that's another like massive contrast between prisons in the U.S. and prisons in the UK. If you're there as a pedophile there, or especially if you're a Muslim there who was doing stuff with 12-year-old, 11-year-old girls and stuff like that, you're totally fine because you have large numbers of people there and it's considered acceptable. Totally different here. Matter of fact, I've been saying for years, people are worried about the spread of Islam in U.S. prisons. I pointed out for years, if you make it common knowledge in prison that Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old girl, you have just stopped the spread of Islam in prison. You have stopped it. I guarantee it would not spread anymore because that is like messing with kids, doing something sexual with kids, boys or girls, and snitching. That is like bottom of the barrel. You can't be associated with anything like that. And so if Muhammad became associated with that, people are out of Islam. You definitely are not going to see anyone converting to Islam.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like it's ingrained in my brain that is like fundamental prison rule. So to hear that it's like the opposite in the UK is just really, really weird to me.
Yes. All right. Meanwhile, in a related development, in Pakistan, there was an attempt to pass a law called the Child Marriage Restraint Bill, which seeks to end minors being forced into marriage. But the Council on Islamic Ideology, which advises the government on Islamic matters, said that this was un-Islamic and must not get passed.
That's a good point.
Yep.
It's a very valid point. It is Islamophobic.
Yeah.
I mean, all the different ways that it's Islamophobic. One, you're attacking Muhammad. Two, you're attacking all his child molesting companions.
Yeah.
Three, you're attacking the Quran, Surah 65, verse 4, which allows men to marry, have sex with, and divorce and pass on to the next guy. Prepubescent girls before they've ever reached puberty. Sex with prepubescent girls is in the Hadith, so you're attacking that. It's all over the place. And so if you just say, nope, can't have that, you're saying there is a higher authority than all of Islam and Islam's greatest heroes. Can't do it.
And
Unless
so
Islam's wrong.
Oh, that couldn't be. Come on. You're talking crazy now. Bangladesh. A women's rights commission in Bangladesh, according to Deutsche Welle, has proposed reforms to Bangladesh's interim government, calling for the criminalization of marital rape and equal rights for women. But the plans have met resistance from Islamic organizations.
Huh. Interesting.
By the way, Robert, it is interesting that, the videos were taken down, but I'm sure you saw them back in the day. There's no concept of marital rape in Islam. I've heard sheikhs mocking the idea. And at first I thought he was going in a totally different direction, but it was, he was in, I don't know which country he was in. He was in some Middle Eastern country. And he was going, did you know that in the United States, you can rape your wife? And I thought he was like condemning the United States for allowing marital rape or something like that. I'm thinking, what is this guy even talking about? And he goes, how can you rape your wife? She's your wife, right? So in Islam, apparently the concept of rape is forcing yourself sexually on a person that you have no right to have sex with. And that's why it doesn't apply to your wife, to your captives or anything. You have a right to do that to all of them. And there's no concept of rape. And so if your wife just says, no, I'm never doing that. I'm not doing that. You're allowed to do what you want. And of course the rest is pretty obvious. Equal rights. Come on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it is a valid point considering that a wife is your property. You know, would you be judged for, I don't know, sexually assaulting a piece of paper that you own? No. So why would you be judged for assaulting, your own wife?
The paper cuts would be punishment in themselves.
It's nothing compared to the night of Al Zut.
Anyway. All right. In a similar story out of Germany. This is from Remix News. A woman was beaten and raped by a Bulgarian Turkish suspect for refusing to swear on the Quran that she was not cheating. In a previous incident, he also beat the victim with a baseball bat that had a nail embedded inside it. The 24-year-old suspect, Ilya K., came to Germany as a refugee in 2015. His 19-year-old ex-girlfriend had already separated from him in 2023 because he had beaten her with the baseball bat, but he confronted her in a park, asked her to place her hand on the Quran and swear she had not been cheating, and she refused because she actually said that she was menstruating and thus could not touch the Quran. And he said, "I will kill you with 5 stabs," and then specified in a graphic manner where he would stab her. And he ultimately beat and raped her. So, in other words, in everything he did there's nothing he did that is against Islamic law.
Plus, he's Turkish. I'm trying to think. That weird swear on the Quran. That's interesting. That just walk up to someone and say, "Swear on the Quran. I'm going to beat the crap out of you if you don't."
Yeah.
That's wild. That's wild stuff.
Well, it's in the Quran that he can beat her, right?
Oh yeah.
It's in the Hadith that he can rape her.
I just mean that like a dude who's just ready to beat women up, rape them, beat them up with a baseball bat, all that stuff. Just here, swear on this. No, okay. Then you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Should have gone for the mubahala. Yeah.
All right. Don't want to let the week go by without noting the jihad continues to heat up in Nigeria, and in Benue State, the jihadis killed 50 Christians and forced the closure of 15 churches. And a group of Catholic priests got together to ask for help from the government, but the government just doesn't look like they're interested in helping this. And meanwhile, in Taraba State, the same jihad, not the same jihadis, but jihadis of the same Fulani tribe killed 42 people in 3 predominantly Christian communities. So you've got 2 large-scale attacks that if they'd happened in Europe or North America, they would be massive international news. But this kind of thing happens in Nigeria all the time, and nobody really pays any attention except This Week in Jihad, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, I think that there is a better way to attract attention and to also get the help that they need for this. Very, very simple, and they should be aware of this by now. Instead of simply complaining that they are being attacked by Islamists, they should just say that it was actually undercover Zionist Jews who attacked them on behalf of Israel. Then they would get the attention they need. You know?
Indeed.
Yep.
You have
The
to be
government
smarter.
the government would have to act. Yeah.
You have to be smarter about this.
Yeah, no. Robert and I pointed out for a long time we could actually do This Week in Jihad just about Nigeria, given all the stuff
Yes.
that happens there. I was wondering about the previous story, AP, because I've seen the people who did the research on how women are treated and so on, and they were calling certain Middle Eastern countries, they amongst themselves call it the culture of the electric cable or something like that, because that was the most common way for men to beat their wives. They'd grab a cord and beat. I was just wondering, is Turkey like that? Is it better, or Is it better because it's closer to Europe or something like that, or is it
It's
the same?
it's considered a national sport in Turkey to do that.
Yeah, not surprising.
Well, the Turks are taking those DNA tests, finding out they're Greeks.
Bunch of
Now
Greeks.
the next step is to return to Orthodox Christianity.
Yeah, that's what I did.
And so there you go.
AP's
Your-
leading the charge.
Your Orthodox Christian ancestors, they're going to have a party on Sunday
Yep.
and watch along with the great cloud of witnesses in heaven. They'll be watching. It's going to be a
Yeah.
great moment.
Indeed.
All right, let's see. What else we got here? Here's just not much to say about this, but the British government is now spending almost £1 million, which is, £1 billion, which is over $1 billion, $1,266,000 a month on migrants, most of whom are Muslim migrants. And the funny thing about that is that the whole idea of mass migration into Europe as well as in Britain was to make up for the fact that the population growth was slowing. And people
need
were
workers.
told, exactly, yeah, these people will come in and do the jobs when, as the population ages, these people will come in and make up for the gaps in the workforce. But they come in, they're not working.
They don't have to. The government will pay them.
And why do they come in and expect that they can go right on welfare? Surely there's nothing in Islam that says the non-Muslims owe the Muslims their upkeep.
Yep, that is how they view it, and it gets worse in multiple ways. So you have that in Islam, that basically they're supposed to be sitting around while we pay them money. So that's built
Right.
into Islam. But then it gets reinforced by saying, but this European nation did this to you 200 years ago, and therefore they owe you now. So that'll be used to reinforce the idea. And then something we've talked about in the past is, like, in lots of Muslim countries, you can marry multiple wives, but it's kind of rare in most places. It's not as common as you would think, because you have to be able to afford it, and most guys can't afford multiple wives because you have to have multiple residences and so on. But they understand in Muslim countries that if you get to a European country and you can have 2, 3, 4 wives, because those marriages are just in the must. They're not before the state. The state considers these all single mothers.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's understood, hey, if you're a poor guy in a Muslim country, you can't even hope to have 2 or 3 or 4 wives. You'll never be able to afford it. But if you just get to a Western nation, you can have your 2, 3, or 4 wives, and the state is going to fund it the entire time. So that becomes an additional circumstance which people are taking advantage of. So they're going there, and the state is saying, oh, look at all these poor single mothers. And these single mothers got husbands. They're just not before the state. And so that it's what's enabling these guys to have to be polygamous and to have tons and tons of kids. So you've got that. But in addition to all of that, something else that we've talked about is the same idea of the justification for the 7/7 bombings or 9/11 and so on. What are you doing killing all these people who haven't attacked you? The idea in Islam is that if you fund the soldier or the fighter who does anything, who makes mischief in a Muslim land, you get the same reward as the actual fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And so, from an Islamic perspective, is the United States making mischief in Muslim lands? Yes. Is Great Britain making mischief in Muslim lands? Yes. Is France? Yes. Has Germany? Yes. All these nations have made mischief in Muslim lands. So anything the governments or the military have done to in various countries or to support Israel, whatever it may be, they're all guilty of making mischief in Muslim lands. But it's not just the political leader who made the decision or the soldier who went and carried out the orders. It's anyone who funded it, which would be ordinary taxpayers. So you have Muslims who refuse to work because if they work, they would be required to pay taxes and they would be funding a kafir government that's making mischief in Muslim lands. They'd be under a death sentence according to Islam. So they're like, we want to go there, but there's no scenario where we're going to work and have to pay the government money. So we're just not working, and the government's going to have to take care of us. And so it's just a massive disaster. And it's another situation where you could deal with this problem. You could vet everyone who's coming into your country, make sure that they agree with your ideals and so on. But you can't, because that would be Islamophobic. It would be Islamophobic to say, hey, if you move here, do you believe in supporting the government and financially through your hard work and so on? Can't do it. Islamophobic.
Yep. And so you got Britain now. They are enforcing Sharia blasphemy laws, convicting the guy of burning the Quran, and paying the jizya in the form of welfare benefits to the Muslim migrants. So it's steady, step by step, bit by bit, piece by piece, all of Sharia is being implemented.
Good boys. Good boys.
Mm-hmm. Got another one for you out of Britain. Always a rich vein. A judge ruled that a Pakistani drug dealer could not be deported as it would be unduly harsh on his son, whom he teaches about Islam. So the judge said he could stay in the country this drug dealer, in order to teach his son about Islam. Because we know that in Britain there's not a chance that this young man could learn about Islam from anywhere else.
It's very rare. This is the thing. This is why America, in comparison, is doing much better. We just found out the terrorist who carried out that attack of burning the Jewish protesters. His entire family is now being deported, right? Or the White House announced that they're removing his entire family, and some people find that outrageous, but. I'm sorry, but there are some drastic measures that need to be taken. In this case, I think it would be very, very good to simply say this family is probably raised and probably fosters these ideas that this guy also has, that nothing is more important than jihad for Allah, and we really don't need that family here among us.
Well, you're absolutely right, but the media is very much against deporting anybody, and they're already in a full court press to try to keep this family in the country. And USA Today has a... Yeah?
No, I was saying the people in the chat are saying the judge blocked it. So in your face.
There you go. The USA Today had a story today with the headline, Habiba Soliman wanted to be a doctor. Then her father firebombed Jewish marchers in Boulder. With the implication, of course, that he had nothing... He never gave his family the slightest hint of his idea that jihad for the sake of Allah overrode everything else. They were completely blindsided by this. How likely is that?
Well, this is the problem with our laws, but there's something to appreciate about what Western nations have established, about the way that laws are established, the way freedoms are granted, the way things are run in general. But it is generally good for the people that these nations were established for. It is generally good for those people that hold values in line with the nations that were established by Western people. It is not good for those who are opposed to the very values that we have. So maybe in the future, some things need to change. As much as we like them, as much as we like freedom and all that, maybe some things just need to change so we don't have to be bound by such ridiculous restrictions anymore, and can just get rid of certain people and certain families that endanger the future.
Well, it's interesting because the founding fathers understood this is not some foolproof system that cannot go wrong. I mean, John Adams said, our Constitution is made for a moral and religious people. It will not work for anyone else. And so there he's just talking about people who don't handle their freedoms responsibly. So the system's going to break down. The system will break down if you do not handle your freedoms responsibly. It only works for a certain kind of population. But you had all the founding fathers were saying things like that, but they were saying it about virtue. You have to have a generally virtuous population. Yeah, you can have one guy who's bad over here and one guy who's bad over here and a criminal over here, and so and the whole system will still be intact. But if you get enough people who just don't care and they're going to do whatever they want, the system is going to break down. But even that's in a different category from people who actually want to destroy the system. And yet, if you say, hey, this guy actually wants to destroy and tear down the entire system, what do we do? It's, how dare you criticize him? Shame on you. How dare you not want to keep him here? And I mean, how dare you not want to keep him here and let him do exactly what he says? And so anyway, it's just insane. But here's the thing. As far as drastic measures are concerned, watch the moment some Western nation starts taking drastic measures, and I'm not talking about like going around killing everyone or something like that. I'm saying, look, we hear one peep about jihad or taking over or Sharia or something like that, you're gone. The moment they do that, yeah, you'll have a big uproar real quick. But if they find out, no, we're actually serious and we're not backing down from this, you are going to see an instant total change. It's just instantly going to happen. Because all the keyboard jihadis and the guys screaming they want Sharia and stuff like that, the Ali Dawas of the world and so on, they do what they're allowed to do. They do what they know they can get away with. If they were suddenly instantly convinced you're not getting away with any of this stuff anymore, they're gonna change their behavior real quick. Like,
same story here, really, in a different country. One last real quick, and then we'll go to the super chats, if you can stick around for that. The court case in Austria was about this guy who is a Syrian, 19 years old. He appeared in court in Linz, and he said, you can behead non-believers. That's normal, and it's written in the Quran. And the court said, oh yeah, you can stay in Austria.
Makes sense. Makes sense. I mean, it is religious freedom. You know, I mean, we have religious freedom, and if we have religious freedom, then you should be also allowed to believe and to preach that it is okay to kill non-Muslims. You know.
So then he can kill non-Muslims, right? And he can say, you can't say I didn't warn you. What are you arresting me for?
Would be Islamophobic.
I mean, it is religious freedom, so.
Yeah, you got to have religious freedom has to override all other laws. And so he ought to be able to murder and rape.
You have to have the religious freedom to deny the religious freedom of others, if your religious freedom requires that. So.
Yes, exactly. Or to behead them, if exercising your religion requires that.
Yeah.
All right. So, let's see. We have Amit Yanuka says, hello, love from Israel. Love to you, Amit Yanuka.
Love to you.
Abu Bakr Al-Puff Daddy says, good evening, Dr. Wood, Mr. Spencer, and Mr. Prophet, Mr. Ridvan. Why do so many South Asian women, Hindu and Buddhist, have sympathy for the Palestinian cause, Hamas?
It might be because they're not very smart. But, yeah.
Well, I mean, look, you even include, like you said, women. Like,
What did Muhammad say?
Intellectual ability. They have half the intellectual ability of men. What do you expect them to support?
In all seriousness, a lot of people on the left in all countries, they support the cause of the Palestinians because they think it's an oppressor versus oppressed, white versus brown kind of thing. And that's all a lot of nonsense. It's a jihad. But this is not how they have learned it.
Yeah.
All right. Salt says the next stream should be all three of you at Robert's house. God bless you and peace to you guys. You are both welcome here anytime, and we will do the show of shows
next week at your house.
That's right. And oh yeah, that's a good idea. Everybody's going to be out of here except me, which I probably shouldn't say because now all the jihadis will come to my house. But if you guys want to show up, plenty of room. And we have plenty of quiet to show. Sarah F. says, consider this my Let RS Learn to Play video fund. Yeah, I got to do that. I know. I really just have to take a couple of hours and cut out everything else and figure out how to do it. But anyway,
Yeah, learning to play a video would take you all of 5 minutes to learn, Robert. Just
you
so you
think
know.
so? I actually
Yeah.
tried it. I tried it on this, and it confused me because it took up the whole screen, and I could not smallify it at all to show some if you were going to be commenting. And I thought that doesn't seem right because I see you guys on your shows and you show videos and you're right over there in the corner, and I don't know, I could not find that.
Yeah, there are ways to do it in settings so that when a video pops up, you also pop up on the little side. Me, I do it mine differently because sometimes volumes are just too low, so that even when you boost them while you're live, it's not high enough and stuff like this. So I always, if I know I'm going to be playing a video, I download the video beforehand, adjust everything, and actually like crop it into its own video, and then I play that video, which is I've already put it off to the side and so on. But anyway, yeah,
Wow.
you don't even have to do that. But yeah, you can mess around with the settings and have it so that when you put a video up, you're also on the screen, but like in a smaller version.
See, I'll just have to look for it again. And that was actually another thing that I could not figure out how to make it go quiet. I didn't want to cut the sound altogether because there were certain points where I wanted the sound to play, but I couldn't figure out how to turn it down and allow for us to talk over it and then go back to it.
No, you
There
just
must be a
pause it,
way.
probably. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
just pause the video.
Yeah, okay. I tell you, I'm just a 20th century guy
Yeah,
here. It's
you're
a
also
shame.
you're using Ecamm. If you just go to Ecamm, has the tutorials on its website for all this basic stuff.
They're probably videos, right?
Yeah, you click on a
Yeah.
video and watch it, and then it says, "Here's how you do it."
Okay. Holy Job or JO3 says any good place to start on waging an intellectual crusade or jihad against Islam. I'm considering the Satanic Verses. No, the Satanic Verses is a novel. It is not a place to learn about how to deal with Islam or how Islam views Christians and Jews. I'd appreciate some input. If you're starting out, well, you mentioned Crusaders. You could read my book, The Politically Incorrect Guide to Islam and the Crusades. Very basic book designed to show what are the problems with Islam. Why does anybody have any problem with it as opposed to any other religion? And there are plenty of books out there like that. What do you think, gentlemen?
Yeah, I disagree on the as far as Satanic Verses. Yeah, if you want to wage an intellectual jihad, get a copy of Shahab Ahmed's Before Orthodoxy. He gives 50 sources on the Satanic Verses, and so I actually, when I was starting off for several years, the Satanic Verses, that was one of my main arguments against Islam because multiple reasons, but one of the most commonly used verse that's supposedly a prophecy about Muhammad in the Bible is Deuteronomy 18:18, where God says that he's going to raise up a prophet like Moses, and they say, "Oh, that's obviously Muhammad." Just two verses later, Deuteronomy 18:20, you got two criteria to spot a false prophet. It says if a prophet delivers a revelation that he claims is from God and it's not from God, then he's a false prophet. Or if he speaks in the names of other gods, he's a false prophet. And according to Muslim sources, Muhammad did both when he delivered the Satanic Verses. That was a revelation that didn't come from God, and he preached it as if it's from God. And he spoke in that he said you can pray to Allat, Alus, and Manat, these three pagan goddesses. So Muhammad would have been sentenced to death by Moses, and you have all these other associated problems, but that's a big one. We respect Moses, and this is Muhammad in Deuteronomy 18:18. Well, two verses later say he's a false prophet and that he would have been executed. So give that one up. You have all sorts of other problems, like Muhammad couldn't tell the difference between a revelation from God and a revelation from Satan, according to the stories and so on. So anyway, I was using that for years. It was because it was after I read Shahab Ahmed's doctoral dissertation on the Satanic Verses. And then he said on his website that he was going to publish a full book on the Satanic Verses. I actually stopped using it as much because I didn't want attention drawn to it until his book came out. Right? I didn't want people harassing him. Look, Kufar are using this argument. Stop telling them about it. And so I kind of pulled back from it. Then he died. His book was his book was published after his death. That's when his book on the Satanic Verses came out. But I've kind of never got back into it. But I'm speaking at EPS and ETS this year, the big philosophy and theology Christian conference. But I'm speaking on the Satanic Verses this year. So anyway, it is about time for that to make a comeback. So I recommend getting that book before Orthodoxy. Reading that, becoming familiar with that, it's got good stuff in there. So that is a good direction. But there are lots of different directions to go. So yeah, you got Robert's books, you got Raymond Ibrahim's books. There's tons of awesome stuff out there to go in an academic direction.
Yeah, sorry, Holy Job. I think I completely misunderstood your question.
Well, that's easy. That's what most people think of when they hear the Satanic Verses now.
Yeah, should I read Salman Rushdie's book to deal with polemics against Islam, which Salman Rushdie's book does not do at all. So, anyway, there you have a lot of material to work with. All right, Abu Bakr al-Pafdadi says, favorite Crusader movie? Kingdom of Heaven, El Cid. I don't know if I've ever seen a Crusader movie.
I don't think I've ever seen one either, yeah.
I have seen Kingdom of Heaven. I haven't seen El Cid, but Kingdom of Heaven is... It is an enjoyable movie, but it is also kind of... It is a big go-to movie for people who are into Crusader stuff, but it also has some factual inaccuracies and also kind of tries to do this whole thing of depicting the Muslims as very just people and all that.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah, I heard that from my Muslim students back in the day. For a while in college, I was teaching English as a second language, and I'm trying to think. I think all my students were Muslim. I can't think of any of my students who were not Muslims. But yeah, that was when that movie came out, and they were like, "Oh, such a great movie! Finally, a movie that portrays Muslims accurately." And I'm like, I'm guessing that movie's kind of crap.
Yeah, actually, I remember now that you mention it. They make Saladin out to be all noble and magnanimous, and they don't say anything about how brutal and bloodthirsty he really was. You got to read my book, The History of Jihad, to find that. All right, Asa says, this is what Colorado gets for being a sanctuary state. So how's that anti-gun law going for you, Colorado? Well, yeah, there's no doubt. People were standing around while this guy's throwing firebombs, and nobody had a gun to take him out. Crazy Normie YT says, notice how the media is attacking the Gaza Humanitarian Fund and lying about it because it actually feeds Gazans without letting Hamas hoard the aid. Sure, if anything is making Israel look good, they don't want to report on it. Abu Bakr al-Puff Daddy, allegations of IDF firing on innocent Palestinians who were getting food and supplies. Is this a false flag? Is it Hamas doing the shootings? Hollywood. Yeah, this was Hamas doing the shooting. The aid agency actually denied that the IDF was doing the shooting after it was reported all over the world. It was a big lie. Hamas was firing upon people because Hamas is losing its grip on the people in Gaza. They're upset with Hamas, and so Hamas was striking back.
But this is one of those evils of the media, right? So the media has become really, really unhinged over the last few years, and it's also very funny because for such a long time there were always the accusations: "Oh, the Jews control the media, the Zionists control the media," and the media has been all out basically reporting against Israel for the last 2 years, especially. Mm-hmm. And just with these events here, with these reports, they have put the false reports, often without even specifying that this comes from Hamas, out there, and millions of people have already been misinformed by these lies. So even if they now retract things and fix the stories, it's far too late. They have already poisoned many minds.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people think that the story went out on Sunday that the Israelis had fired upon people getting aid, and 26 were dead or 31 were dead, depending on the different stories. CNN had it, BBC, others. And Sunday afternoon, this guy starts throwing the firebombs. Yep. Maybe it was connected.
Yep.
Completely false story, though. Asa, Robert, you're darling, and having our two boys on is such a treat. Yes, having our two boys here is terrific. Thank you, two boys.
Boys.
Mark H says, DW say, I have received a revelation. D-Dubs, do you say, I have received a revelation?
Yeah, I have received a revelation.
I think he just said it.
I'm just kidding. They want me to say it like this. I have received a revelation. It's about Muhammad anytime he received a convenient revelation.
I didn't know he was a southerner. Zoot Zoot, yeah, okay. Can you say... Allahu Akbar. Could you say Muhammad was one of the original victims of the Pakistani grooming gangs?
You got to read the name, Robert.
Yeah, I'm not going to read that. Anyway, good point. All right, Ida Ragozin says, oh, it's one of those stickers, thank you. And we have Tezbot here. UK now has dimitude laws, sad day. Good to see you guys, though. Yeah, you know, get out of there while you can.
Anytime you need to replace the F word now, Robert, you just say, we're zooted. And that's code language now.
Yeah. What does it?
Have you talked to Zudi Jasser about that? Ida Ragozin has DW visiting AP. Oh, hi, Robert. Oh, ha, DW visiting AP. Yeah, it's a big day here at This Week in Jihad. Is the apostle, John Davis says, is the apostle a prostate, a prostrate, or an apostate? I'm guessing all three.
That's a good question.
Yeah, it's a tough one. We need to get the learned imams on that. All right, Sarah F says, yes, the potted plants, thank you. And
hey, that's actually funny. You're talking about the potted plants in that hell exhibit and stuff.
Oh, that's right, yes. All right, and there's ZZ again. The fact Muhammad took one for the team in the night with the Azut proves he was selfless.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind, I keep saying that like we're semi-joking with this, but there's this creepy stories and you don't know what they're about and stuff like this. But you could say it's a scenario where like the army of Al-Zut was approaching and they said, we're gonna take Mecca and here's what we're gonna do to the entire population. And Muhammad was like, no, just do it to me instead. And like, fine, come out here and we'll all bang you. And so he could be the hero of that story. Muslims, so start making Muhammad of this story, because you're not stopping the story because we're sharing the story. So anyway, you just got to make Muhammad the hero, and we'll help you do that.
He's the excellent example to be emulated in all things. Holy Job, Menhab Zabibas, and thank you. And we have Chad Winger, the ultimate Dawa destroyer. RS, say Mike Winger is awesome. Mike Winger is awesome.
What the heck?
He looks just like David, but that's really all I know about him.
What the heck? He looks just like McLovin.
Well, this is
Mike
the thing.
Winger.
I did this. I was trying to create an AI cartoon of David Wood, but then when I had the results, I couldn't tell if it's Mike Winger or David Wood.
Yeah. Well, they were together, and I saw the video on Twitter, X, and I just glanced at it, and I thought, oh, there's David. And then the camera pans over, and there's another David.
See?
And Mike Winger, they could be twins.
Yeah.
Ha ha! Everyone's being super funny here. Let's just clear the record here. D Wood, West Virginia Trailer Park, Hillbilly Family, Prison, Mike Winger, Nerdville, his entire life. Nerdville, Star Trek conventions. That's his. Come on, let's be serious. Let's be serious.
Okay, Mike.
So it's like you're Spock with a beard, and he's Spock. Ida Ragozin, I'm so exhausted and depressed about all this. I'm sorry, Ida. Trust in God. We don't know how this is going to work out, but trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Joshua Wooden, AP must be a bit shy, as he didn't include Hatun in the Best Turks. That's because she's Greek. He also couldn't include himself because he himself is also Greek, because he is most humble, and because Surah 4:171.
Well, aside from being the most humble, I also converted to Greek, so yeah.
There you go. Okay. Holy Job. Is that Job or JO3? McLovin is your average Mike Winger fan.
Thank you.
I know nothing about Mike Winger. Nothing.
Thank you.
Except he looks just like David. Dawa Troll, peace be upon me, rips page from Robert Spencer's book, Politically Incorrect Guide to Islam. Take that outside. How about that? Hi, Islamophobes. You can rip my book up all you want. I really don't mind. It's not blasphemy. Chad Winger, the ultimate Dawa destroyer, says Islam is the perfect religion for Adobe PDF. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
got it. Logged and noted. Robera says it's exactly what Azut did to Muhammad. I'm not sure what you're referring to, but there we are.
I think they did everything, so it could apply to anything.
Yeah.
Well, I don't mean that. I mean, I understand about Azut and Muhammad. What I mean is I don't know what you're saying it's exactly like, but whatever.
That's what I'm saying. Could be anything.
Yeah. I really wonder if doing a study on Muslims' brains or show any abnormality, physical or otherwise, especially the ones of those who convert to Islam, just out of scientific curiosity. I don't know, it'd be a very tough study to do, I think.
It would be very Islamophobic.
I mean, there is a lot of mental retardation and brain damage. It's rampant in areas where there's a lot of cousin marriage and intermarriage, like in Pakistan. Because it's very tribal, yeah.
Yeah, I read that. I forget where I read that as a theory, but it's actually a theory that the reason Europe was so successful is because first cousin marriage was abolished in various places, and they think that like affected like all future generations and so on. Once you stopped that. But also, I mean, think it's I mean, if all these guys are trying to get Zabibas to show off, it's possible that they're like giving themselves like constant concussions and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't bang your head on the floor. You know, the Orthodox actually, we do that during Lent on, you know, Good Friday and all. And if you go down too hard, it can really hurt. Yeah. And I don't do it enough to get a Zabiba, but you bang your forehead on the ground. It's painful if you are not being careful. And so imagine doing it 5 times a day, every day of your life. You might. Yeah,
I'm looking up what that was called. What's it called?
The prostrations?
CTE, chronic traumatic encephalopathy. That's what that's what boxers can get, football players can get it, and so on like that. But you could also get it if you keep trying to give yourself a Zabiba.
Yeah,
I'm very excited about this. So before I joined the Orthodoxy, before I went to an Orthodox church, I didn't know that there are prostrations done. And then during Lent, we actually at church would do the prostrations, and then I got really excited about this and figured out, hey, I didn't get a Zabiba when I was a Muslim. Now I could finally do it as an Orthodox Christian.
Get a Lenten Zabiba. I've never ever seen an Orthodox Christian with a Zabiba.
I will try to get one in the shape of a cross. Maybe.
Well, yeah. Well, then you'll just look like it's Ash Wednesday and you're a Roman Catholic.
That's true. That's a good point. I didn't think that through. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Muslims never say that their Catholics are copying them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, that's
look, they're trying to be like us, but they just do it with charcoal. Mine is real.
They actually got the prostrations from the Orthodox.
This is cultural appropriation.
Most likely.
Yeah. Along with their domed mosques, their Orthodox churches.
Yep. Anyway. Even the Dome of the Rock, that was copied from the Church of the Holy Sepulchre.
Yep. All right. Sarah F. says, I think I figured it out. Allah is solid, right? Satan knows Adam isn't him by crawling through his mouth to Zut.
Yeah. No, that's true. Yeah, you got to read part 2. She posted part 2.
Where is it?
It would be after the next comment.
Oh, I see. It was one after next. Okay. Maybe Jesus ate food isn't to refute the incarnation, but rather proof he had a digestive tract, therefore he can't logically be the solid Allah.
Sarah, I'm stealing that point. Robert, I don't even know if you're familiar with the story because it doesn't come up a lot, but it's in the history of Tabari, where it's talking about Satan's fall and in the creation of man and so on, but it's not a very commonly told or even shared story. But the story is that when Allah created Adam, he created him as this statue first before he breathed life into him.
Mm-hmm.
And the angels and jinn, they all see this statue and they're not sure whether it's Allah or not because it looks like Allah. So Satan crawls in through the mouth and crawls all the way through and comes out his butt and says, "This is not Allah because Allah is solid and this thing is hollow."
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how he could tell the difference between a statue of Adam and Allah. He could actually crawl through it, whereas you can't crawl through Allah and crawl out of his butt. So what Sarah's pointing out there, Sarah's making a connection, which I'm going to do in a video now that I have the idea. I steal ideas, that's what I do. That when the Quran says Jesus can't be God because he ate food, maybe what the Quran is saying is not, aha, you're a dependent being and you require food, therefore you're not God. Maybe it's saying, if you eat food, then you have a digestive tract and therefore you're not Allah because Allah is solid.
But note also that Allah creates Adam as a statue and then makes it move just as Jesus does with the birds. So Jesus is true. Also Allah.
Well, he still has a digestive tract, and so sounds like an airtight case.
But if he can make life out of statues, then he's Allah.
Yeah, it is confusing.
Yeah.
No one accused the Quran of being consistent, Robert.
Indeed.
No one. I didn't. He didn't. You didn't. Sarah didn't.
Dog-faced Pepe soldier, regarding the hell park, aren't physical representations of angels and etc. haram? Well, we're talking about Shiites here, so Shiites are a lot more relaxed about that kind of thing. Yeah. Miriam says, Mr. Robert, a reminder that I love you. Miriam, I love you as well. It's Quran page, ladies and gentlemen, just in case you might not have noticed. Songs of Relief says, gee,
use your freedom while you got them, lady.
Yeah, for the moment. If you can't convince Iranians to follow their religion, just scare them with a theme park. I think that's the idea.
Yeah, it's funny. That's their plan. We're a Muslim minority country now. Only 40% of the population still believes in Islam of any kind. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? We can't kill everybody. What do we do? I know. How about a theme park?
You know, I mentioned earlier when we talked about this, a gentleman's club, and Islamic Paradise would make a terrific gentleman's club. You got the women, you've got the alcohol flowing in rivers through the place. The only thing is it would be complete, just be a bordello essentially, so it would be closed down. But
yeah. I mean, think about that as like, seriously, Robert, think about that as a marketing strategy, because you're talking about the assassins and so on, and how, hey, let's get them all high, and then say, hey, if you want to spend eternity like that, you got to go out and slaughter all these people. But I mean, imagine that, like, because Dawa's crumbling, they're going to need a new pitch. Mm-hmm. And what if they had like a brothel orgy type setting and stuff, and it's a night in Jannah. And you come and you experience it for one night, and then, hey, do you want to keep that going for eternity? Now you got to convert to Islam.
It would probably bring in a lot of guys.
I guarantee it would. I absolutely guarantee.
But I tell you, if I opened a club, in Manhattan called Jannah, and it just was Islamic Paradise as described in the Quran, be packing them in. I wouldn't do it because it would involve so much immorality, but
I'm just saying anyone who doesn't have our basic moral compass and so on, and is a total pervert, if you wanted a like record-breaking OnlyFans channel, make an OnlyFans channel called A Night in Jannah, and it's like Islamic Paradise on OnlyFans, and you instant millionaire.
Islamic Paradise webcam.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can go look at a webcam of bald eagles or the Bering Strait or things like that. So this is the webcam into Islamic Paradise. That'd be rich. Ida Ragozin, Orthodox Church in Egypt, shed a tear. Yes, indeed. One punch over Aisha's chest says, to the dude asking about Hindu Buddhist women, what do you expect women to do when they keep airing videos of children going hungry and getting killed? Well, yeah, but a lot of those videos are fake propaganda.
Yeah, it's pointing out that it is correct that's almost all of what some people see. And if that's
Yes.
all you see and you're never hearing what else is going on and the reality and that a lot of this is fake, then of course you'd say, well, we have to do something about this.
Makes sense. Mosh Cohen says, I'm afraid that each day that passes, I kind of wish for the West to experience what we and India lived through since the late 40s. I know, real bad. Yeah, I know how you feel, though. People just don't realize at all what's going on.
Yeah, and it's an ongoing situation where lots of people in the West, when they think of, hey, what's Islam, they think of what their Muslim buddy from college is like. And it's like, your friendly, super nice Muslim buddy from college is not, has never been, never will be what Islam actually is, and you haven't seen it. You've seen little occasional stories about it. When ISIS rose and stuff like that. But even then you were thinking, well, that's not real Islam because that's not like my friend from college. And so you have tons of people who've never really seen what it is.
Get that all the time. I spoke at James Madison University in Virginia about a couple months ago, and one of the first questions was, well, I have all these Muslim friends and they're such nice people and you're just hurting them by talking about jihad. Well, there you go. One punch over Aisha's chest. Robert, think you, if hypothetically Gaza was part of two-state solution, Gaza would keep launching attacks like Pakistan does to India now, or even worse? Well, that's exactly what did happen. Israel withdrew entirely from Gaza in 2005, and the idea was it would bring peace. And instead, it became a jihad base. Only a few of us were saying it would, and we were right. E. Gatz says, God bless you, Robert Spencer, David Wood, and Apostate Prophet. We appreciate all your works. Thank you. We appreciate you. The Seal of the Prophets. David, look out. There's a Turk behind you. Oh, hi, Robert. What, am I the Turk? Bite your tongue. I am not now and have never been a Turk. Yeah, he's a Turk. His family oppressed mine.
I think someone changed the D to a K in that name. That was stupid. It seems like someone must have said that before. It seems obvious, right? Yeah. I didn't hear that from anyone.
Well, I was suggesting a united country named Kurdistan.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, well, that's a good idea because that's actually a little farther over to the right where they need to be, where they came from. Am I the only one who thinks, Arctic-based, am I the only one who thinks that Piers Moron would suit a big Zabiba in his face and not through prayer? Well, let's not get violent here. We love everybody. Dawa Troll, peace be upon me, says David Wood is Mike Winger's evil twin. Yeah, that's what I was looking for before, Spock and Spock with a beard. Ultimate Dawa Destroyer, Chad Winger, the Ultimate Dawa Destroyer, says David Wood is the less cool version of Mike Winger. It's getting bad. This is the you can feel the temperature rising, ladies and gentlemen.
Stop insulting my friend Mike Winger.
American One, this is the gold coin lady from DebateCon. God bless you guys.
Hey.
Hi, gold coin lady from DebateCon.
Oh, I got your coin somewhere here. That's cool.
SKA says, DW, will there be any new Boom 2 Room episodes?
Yes, I have multiple episodes. I got burned out on editing. But matter of fact, I have episodes with Robert Spencer. I have episodes with John McCrae.
There you go.
There it is.
And yeah, there was just something about tearing them down for my old channel and stuff like that he kind of lost the collection and stuff like that. We'll get back. I've got some recorded already.
We did that so long ago. I'm gonna suddenly look 10 years younger in a video, in a new video. All right, Arctic Base. So nice to see David and AP finally together. Yes, it is.
Finally, we've been together like a million times at conferences and video recordings. And
Together forever.
Chad Winger, Mike Winger, 860,000 and subs. David only 333,000. You see?
But Sneeko has even more fans, so I guess that means and Andrew Tate has even more, so I guess that makes him.
come on.
Yep. You know, David had lots more in his old channel. Yosef, an Islamic gentleman's club, is basically a daycare.
Prove it. Where?
A daycare with houris
Nice.
and beer. John Davis, what's the deal with Mike Winger? Seems like a nice guy. As an evangelical, he got a lot of flack for opposing women ministers. Star Trek?
What's the deal with Mike Winger?
I really
Where do
don't
I
know
begin?
myself.
Where do I begin? His nerd face, his nerd glasses, his nerd videos, his nerd voice, his nerd video background, his nerd Walmart guitar that he puts in the background to try and look cool. Come on, be realistic.
Benico says, just joining in now, going to rewatch later. God bless you all, guys. God bless you, Benico. And that brings us to the end. Thank you all very much. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, AP. Thank you, David. And we hope there's no more jihad, as always. But should there be any, we'll be back, God willing. Till then, pray, hope, and don't worry.